Hey guys, so this is going to be a quick review and comparison between three different small smart chargers. So what I have here is 2x Toolkit RC. This is the Toolkit RC M6. This is the Toolkit RC End URUAV, or however in the world this is spelled, M600. They are actually pretty much identical apart from very small differences in the firmware. And what I have here is the way more expensive big brother of those. This is an ISDT Q8 Smart Charger. Way better specs, 500 watts, 8S, 20 amps, while those are only 150 watts and 6S maximum. And Banggood has sent me all three of them, and at first I was kind of puzzled about what the hell am I going to talk about in the video without making this incredibly boring. I just checked some reviews about those to get the opinions of other people, and they are so boring. It's a charger, yes, it puts current in your battery, and you can see the internal resistance, and power goes in here and goes out of there, and it's just super not interesting. But after using those for a while, I actually had some really interesting findings that I would like to share, because although these cheap $20 smart chargers are on paper not nearly as good as the $60 ISDT, I almost never use this ISDT, like just a couple of times, while I'm using those all of the time. Why? Because these are very, very convenient field chargers, especially if you do have two of them. Which, all this power the ISDT has, the 20 amps it can push to 500 watts, only makes sense if you're either charging a very big battery or you have a balance board and you have a couple of hefty, like 6S 1500s or 4S 1500s on there, and you just parallel charge them all at the same time. But if you're in the field, usually what I do is I cycle through like two to four batteries, and I'm not really charging many of them at the same time. And in this case, it's just much more convenient to have two small chargers. And I built a little adapter for this is my field charging pack. It's like a massive Turnigy 1200 milliamp hour 6S. I just plug in two of those. Very cheap Toolkit RC chargers, and in that case it's not a disadvantage that they only do 150 watts, because this is way more than you need for a single pack. And after flying a pack, I just plug it into one of them. I have another one with another pack charging. And this way it's just way more convenient, because I do not have to pay any attention to having the batteries on more or less the same voltage, which I would have to do if I parallel the charges. Because, for example, if I crash or something, the pack isn't completely empty, but I do not want to go again with a half empty pack for a race run, for example. I couldn't parallel charge them, and I have to measure them and take care of that. It's just annoying. If I have two chargers, I can just plug in two batteries at the same time and just do not care if one of them is half full or the other one is completely empty. No problem. It's just way more convenient to have two chargers. And another advantage of these small Toolkit RC chargers is they do not need a power input to give you the status of your battery. So you can just use this as a little measure. You see, I'm just plugging in the battery, and that's it. While if you look at the ISDT, nothing happens. I need to give it some power input for something interesting to happen. So probably if you're at home and you're parallel charging a lot of batteries, yes, you need all that power, and you might need to spend the $60. But honestly, in the field, I never really did that. It was just way more convenient to have these two little guys here that actually have even more functions than the ISDT. This thing can test and output S-bus signals and all that stuff that I never used, but they can pretty much do just as much as this one. They're just more way cheaper. You can get basically 3 of those instead of one ISDT, or even by 4 and hook up. You could easily hook up 4 of them to a field charging pack. Just have all of that way easier. And another advantage is you can have in the charger here, you can save battery profile. So for example, here I have a general profile that's auto detecting the cells. It's charging 3 amps. That's what I use for bigger packs. Then I have a 3S profile that is charging at less. It's currently set at 2.5 amps, but that's wrong. I usually set this up to be 1 amp. And I have another profile for lithium ion batteries. So all pretty easy. And I can also charge completely different batteries at the same time from my field charging packs. I can charge a 3S on this one and a 6S on the other one, all without any problems. So pretty convenient. Also, the sort of user interface or usability is pretty much the same in my opinion. If you look at the controls, very similar on the more expensive ISDT compared to your UIV, which also has these sort of buttons here. They aren't perfect. They are sometimes a bit annoying, but that's okay. So just to sum this up, guys, my recommendation: if you're looking for field charging, no need to get an expensive charger. Just buy a couple of cheap $20 ones. Way more convenient, and maybe you need this at home, but I'm using a bigger charging stations. So really for me, the way to go for field charging is these. Also very reliable, cheap, $20 Toolkit RC or your UIV chargers. And honestly, it doesn't really matter which one you get. They are pretty much identical. I just noticed some very, very slight differences. I think this one is displaying the voltage up to a 100th of a volt, and this one only to a 10th of a volt or something like that. Completely irrelevant. Doesn't matter which one you get. Or get this one because it's got a nicer color. I don't know. All right, guys. I hope you find my little very scientific experimentations here with chargers interesting. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye bye.